first. Let's see if we are ready. So we can, all right. Okay. All right, are we ready, Amanda? Thank you very much. So we're going to start and call this meeting to order. This is going to be a really, I think, we're pay attention to this agenda because we have 3 closed session items today, in addition to all of the materials that we have that we will be doing in our regular business meeting. So we're going to start off with our consent and action review and call the meeting to order. Oh, we're going to do introductions? That was the very next thing on this list. All right, and now we're going to do introductions. We'll start with Ms. Watlington.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Victoria Watlington. I have the pleasure of serving you as a member at large.
Good evening, Lawana Mayfield, council member at large.
Malcolm Graham, District 2.
Marcus Jones, City Manager.
Vi Lyles, Mayor.
Good evening and happy birthday, Councilmember Molina. Dante Anderson, Mayor Pro Tem, District 1.
Good evening, everyone. James Mitchell at large, and happy birthday to my colleague. I hope you didn't do nothing I wouldn't do.
Thank you, colleagues. Good evening, and I'm Marjorie Molina. I represent District 5. Thank you, colleagues.
Now it's your birthday.
Huh?
Good.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. And my birthday.
Well, she'll tell you the stories later
Yeah.
on, right? Exactly. So I want to say good
Anthony
evening and
Fox.
thank you to, I'm sorry.
Anthony Fox,
All right,
interim
here we go.
city,
Anthony.
interim city attorney.
Billy Tynes, Deputy City Clerk.
All right, thank you very much. We have started this and we will move on to our next item. And that I want to make sure that we appreciate all of you that are joining us and will be here. Especially there are people that I hope will be watching us online for our October 13th council business meeting. So we have had our introductions, so we will not, oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Renee Johnson just came in. Council member?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Renee Johnson, and I'm honored to represent District 4.
All right, thank you very much for the time that you're here today. So let's start beginning with our consent items on tonight's agenda. We do have a speaker for our consent item. I believe it's item 23. And so if we could recognize I'm not sure that I can get it, Mr. Evan Schultz. If we would please, if you would like to come to the dais. This is on action item number 23 for the council members, right?
Thank you. Esteemed councilors, tonight you will vote on approval of the expenditure of nearly $3 million in federal grant money on an engineering firm to address road and traffic safety in the city. I am here to raise the point that this is the fundamental problem with transit costs in Charlotte, that having little to no in-house staff with the technical knowledge to direct consultancy or engineering firms, much less actually manage and execute projects themselves, is the largest contributor to cost overruns and long delivery timelines for infrastructure in the United States. A 2023 study by New York University identified a lack of in-house expertise due to a desire to offload risk results in higher bid prices, conflict with other agencies, and low standardization, all of which significantly raises total project costs. For example, the New York MTA gutted its in-house capital projects management group from 1,600 to 124 employees between 1990 and 2011, resulting in nearly 20% of total project costs being paid to consultancy firms, double the average in West Europe. The CRTPO has just 15 employees. The reality is that outsourcing endless studies and even core design guidelines to firms is pointless when the transit agency does not have the expertise to absorb and utilize that information. The study compared ballooning project costs to that of nuclear power plants, where the loss of expertise and lack of standardization has resulted in comparable multi-billion-dollar costs. Whereas countries with successful transit build programs have used a large cadre of civil servants that retain technical and management know-how, project data, labor force experience, and logistical chains across multiple projects. I realize I likely cannot change the outcome of tonight's vote, but I can ask the city to consider a new direction. I asked the city to stop outsourcing to consulting and to begin developing an in-house design and engineering team that can execute projects at lower cost and deliver them in shorter timelines, which would better impact safety and transit in this city. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for your comments. I do want to have any follow-up, if any council members have any follow-up. I do want to recognize Bob Cook, who is CRTPO. I think I was on that 20 years ago. So it's good to see you. And I think that you've heard from the speaker, and if there's an opportunity, maybe we can have a little bit of a conversation and see what you're doing and how that works. And I appreciate you coming to speak on the item. So, all right. Ms. Johnson, did you have your hand up for comment?
I did for 23.
Yes, for
Question
23.
Item number 23, thank you. Marie, can you explain does this have anything to do with the pending referendum? Does this funding?
No, ma'am. Any contracts we do, they'd be used for any types of projects pending. In this particular one, we received, I'm sorry, I don't have my readers on, but we received USDOT grant funding for.
Okay, because we have received some concern from the public that this is related to the referendum, that this is further debt, but that is not the case. Is that correct?
No, ma'am. In any of our contracts that we have in place that we would utilize, we wouldn't do any expenditures. We might spend more, not in this particular one, but any of them, we just might have more volume for some of them that you'd have to be aware of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for your contribution. And now, Ms. Mayfield?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I want to say thank you to the speaker. Although I agree that we have an opportunity to look in-house, because I also have shared concerns about the amount of funding that is spent on consultants versus in-house for this particular project, because on February 10th, 2025, we approved the budget ordinance accepting the Safe Streets and Roads for All grants from the U.S. Department of Transportation, which was $3,150,000. And that is specifically for the development of a regional comprehensive safety action plan for the CRTPO. So because these are funds that are coming in from the federal government and not necessarily our general funds or tax dollars, I am much more comfortable to move this conversation forward, because I would have been asking a whole lot of questions as well if we was looking at us paying for this. But I do agree that we may have an opportunity as we move forward and go into the retreat to work with the managers, since we're a board of directors, to look at opportunities in-house, whether it's in the attorney's office and other areas, to have these specialists to conserve on the tax dollar. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Any other comments? I do believe that you noted that New York had done something that we have not, so we can begin to have some ideas around, maybe we should look into this a little bit more, considering the remarks by Ms. Mayfield and Ms. Johnson. All right, so thank you again for bringing this to our attention. So now, are there any consent items for a separate vote? Ms. Mayfield.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to ask that we pull 14, 17, and 20. And it's really for discussion. Maria and I had a chance to review, but I would like for it to make its way into the minutes, but it will be a separate vote. Thank you.
All right, so why don't we go ahead and start with item 14?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So item 14 is the right-of-way acquisition and relocation services. What we are being asked to approve tonight is the unit price contracts for right-of-way acquisition and relocation services for a term of 3 years to multiple businesses throughout the city. And we're anticipating a total annual aggregate of expenditures around $7.5 million. So my question was, does this include not only the business fees, but also the potential purchase price? If we're saying upwards of up to $7.5 million, And Marie did share that these are the contracts. They include real estate negotiation services, and hopefully the projection is not to exceed this amount. And Marie, did you have additional?
Yes, ma'am, but to clarify your point, this does not include the purchase price.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Which was the challenge that I have of we're allocating up to 7.5. No disrespect to consultants, everybody gotta have a job, but for you to talk and to negotiate the potential price, but this does not also include the ability to make that purchase price, that will be coming back at a later date through another budget line item. I just wanted clarity on that particular one, just to make sure that not only I understood, but the community also knows that contract real estate acquisition agents, they charge a per parcel fee that varies based on the type of project and the project's specific requirements, and that the city incurs no ancillary charges from agents beyond the cost of the recording easements. But I did have concerns of the up to 7.5 million, and that amount not including the actual purchase of land if possible.
All right. Any other comments from the council? All right, do I have a motion for the item 14? Do we
You
have a
wanna,
motion?
So moved.
All right.
Second.
And a second? All right, we've had a conversation, so all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's 6 of us, or 6 council members. So, and so anyone that does not agree, Ms.
Mayor,
Mayfield?
I'm not going to vote against to the 7, but I do want us to look at moving forward, how we identify these contracts.
Okay,
So you will have 7 in support.
7
for-
in support of the
Billy.
item 14.
Yeah.
Okay,
and Madam Mayor, she has 2 additional items that she would like to discuss.
Okay.
And you also have the approval of the remainder of the consent agenda still pending.
okay. All right, so let's go to 17. We'll get Ms. Mayfield ready. 17, which is wastewater treatment equipment.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And this is more for comment. We did have a chance to reach out to our Director of Water. And basically, what we are asking to approve is the purchase of the Tri-Vent aeration blower filters. Where I had a question is the fact that these Tri-Vent, I thought we built a facility in Pineville. Actually, the county built this facility many years ago, back when we were looking at, prior to consolidation. The question that I had asked of Ms. Harris is, how much is Pineville contributing to the cost? And when I was looking at costs, I'm thinking, okay, our enterprise fund is set up in a way where we pay increase in our water. The reality is, since we have the largest population, the bulk of those costs are paid out of the city of Charlotte. So I wanted to know what the contribution from Pineville was, and Marie was able to get more details on that for me.
Yes, ma'am, so, and Ms. Mayfield's point, this was, previously, each town had their own water systems, and when we consolidated, it became one water system that everybody pays the same rate towards. And so we collected basically all the assets into one system now, and everybody pays the same rate towards it, yes.
And although we all pay the same rate, still, the bulk of that cost, be just based on population, we're seeing a greater contribution from Charlotte. Yet, what I do appreciate is that Pineville built the system. We've now, for a number of years, worked with and moved forward with providing a more comprehensive water access for our region, but I wanted clarity on that. So with that one, move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Am I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Thank you very
Seven.
much. 7, Ms. Molina. All right, thank you, Ms. Molina.
And Johnson.
All right, so our next item from Ms. Mayfield's list is,
And actually, Mayor, 20, Marie was able to get me the information that I need on that. I did not mean to pull that one for separate.
thank you very much, Ms. Mayfield. So now, may I have, if there's anyone that would like to comment on this, please let me know. Anyone else? If not, may I have a motion to approve consent agenda items 12, 13, 15, 16, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24, and 25?
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone in opposition? None. So that completes our consent agenda. So thank you very much for that work that
Mayor,
you've been doing.
I think 23, while there was discussion,
Did I say
not a vote.
23? I did not
It was
mean to say
not.
that.
There was not a separate vote. The separate vote was for 14.
Oh, correct.
Separate vote was for 14.
Move to approve.
All right.
Second.
And then 23?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Do we have a motion on that,
So
too?
move to approve A and B.
Okay, thank you very much. All in favor, raise your hands again. Thank you for your patience. And so, anyone opposed? Hearing no one in opposition, we'll move forward to our next agenda item. All right, I think we're going to have our next agenda item is a part of the discussion that we've been having on our affordable housing funding support request for supportive housing. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. As the mayor mentioned earlier, we have a number of closed session items, actually 4 of them today. And so I believe we're going to start off with the Metropolitan Public Transit Authority appointment process. That's what we have listed, or we want to go with housing first?
Housing. Oh, you want, can I go first?
Okay.
I think we wanted to have housing and then move on, and then we'll come back to your group, Mr. Mitchell. Okay,
We're going housing.
housing. Ms. Watlington?
Yes, Madam Mayor, due to a potential conflict, I'm going to ask you to recuse from this conversation.
Move to recuse Councilmember Watlington.
All right, we have a motion.
She moved to recuse
She said due to
herself.
a potential conflict.
For a potential conflict.
Your colleague want to know why.
Yes.
So we have a,
Couldn't hear you, that's all.
Yeah, due
we couldn't
to,
hear,
due to a potential conflict, I'm requesting to be recused from this conversation.
All right, Ms. Mayfield,
made.
would you motion to allow Ms. Watlington to recuse herself, all right, for this item? All right, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor, please raise your hand. Anyone in opposition? Hearing no one in opposition, the motion passes. Ms. Watlington is recused. Thank you. All right, so we did decide that we were going to start with our housing program, and I want to recognize Ms. Mayfield.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and I am lobbing that right over to our director, Ms. Rebecca Hefner.
Excellent. Good evening again, Mayor and members of the council. Back to you this week in a follow-up conversation. So last Monday, we gave a briefing to Housing Safety and Community Committee. Sorry for the breathlessness, the agenda switch up, out of getting gear. So on the recommendations related to the Housing Trust Fund, and then a follow-up conversation with full City Council as part of committee report outs. Last Thursday in your packets, we provided some additional information specifically around the supportive housing developments, and that's what I'm going to focus a little bit on tonight, but then open up the opportunity to discuss any of the recommendations. I wanted to share a little bit more about supportive housing, partly because these are housing types that you don't see as often. They don't come through on a regular cadence. And they do work a little bit differently. Both transitional housing and emergency shelter, you have proposals within the Housing Trust Fund for one of each, are types of supportive housing. So supportive housing is characterized by low barrier to entry, shorter median length of stay, and wraparound services that provide supports to the residences. And the role of supportive housing in our community's housing ecosystem is to be a bridge in between unsheltered homelessness and some type of permanent housing. Transitional housing, excuse me, and low barrier shelters are important part of this ecosystem, especially when they provide access to services that allow households to transition into permanent housing. Excuse me. In your housing funding policy, you do have a $9 million investment goal for supportive housing and shelter capacity. And one of the things that when we evaluate proposals to bring forward to you is, of course, we always look at the alignment with your affordable housing funding policy. The place that supportive housing recommendations really fall into alignment with the policy are in three different areas. One is you're serving priority populations. So this focus on vulnerable populations is an explicit priority within your policy. Resident services, linking housing and services to create stronger outcomes. This is one of your investment priorities, and it is inherent in supportive housing to do just that. And then partnerships and leverage. In this priority, you have adopted that priority will be given to proposals that incorporate broad partnerships, partnerships that provide resident services, and investments that improve quality of life and access to opportunity. So just putting that into the context of your funding policy. And then there were quite a few questions last week about the investment. So I wanted to make a note about the financial structure as it relates to supportive housing. That you're not going to get the kind of leverage ratios in supportive housing that you do for other housing types. The per unit or per room construction costs are typically going to be much higher. One thing, as we talked about last week, is that these types of housing require more than just the housing unit. They require space for caseworker and system navigator offices, sometimes medical facilities, classrooms, and other types of amenities that will provide direct services to the residents. And then the important piece, which is what makes them require a higher amount of public investment, is that supportive housing charges little to no rent. So because of that, they cannot carry debt. So you will often see, and as is the case in one of these, leverage ratios that are 1-to-2 or 1-to-4, because the public and philanthropic dollars are going to constitute actually the majority of the project capital. So in that way, supportive housing is very different from the per unit investment that you're going to typically see for rental housing production or home ownership. I also wanted to share a little bit about the need in our community for this type of housing. So this slide is an update of a slide that was taken directly from the May 2025 presentation that went to Housing Safety and Community Committee, when you all talked about the potential for a non-congregate shelter here in Charlotte. The update here is the data. So according to the last point in time count, this is collected and published by Mecklenburg County, there were 444 people experiencing unsheltered homelessness in Mecklenburg County. And shelter utilization, as many of you know, is at an all-time high. Our emergency shelter options are full and often on waiting lists. The need for non-congregate shelter is especially acute. We don't currently have non-congregate shelter options in our community, especially serving adults who have medical, behavioral health, or mobility challenges. In these types of situations, it's often very difficult for households to be accommodated in traditional congregate shelter environments. And so wanted to put in context where we are as it relates to the need, both for these types of housing and to support our unsheltered households in general. So we talked last week about these two proposed developments, the first being the Mecklenburg County Hotel conversion. This is the same slide that you saw last week. This information, again, was included, a deeper dive in your packets from last week. A couple of things that I wanted to talk about, just in follow-up to the questions that came up. So the non-congregate emergency shelter has a number of defining attributes that really make it different from quite a number of the types of proposals you've seen in the past. So by definition, the non-congregate design it is very different than our other shelters currently in the system. This project design emphasizes privacy, safety, accessibility, and individualized service coordination. Now, there was a question and concern last week about the investment per bed. We've updated that language, and I just want to call your attention to that. We've updated that language to look at it as investment per room or unit, because these, in a non-congregate shelter, these are rooms. So think of it as a standard basic hotel room with a bed, some furniture, and a bathroom. This emergency shelter would serve adults, and that includes multi-member adult households, but without minor children. So this is not a family shelter. It is specifically for adults. The shelter will have on-site medical care, mental health services, and substance use treatment. And what's really, we think of as mission critical when it comes to the shelter investment is that some shelter capacity would be earmarked for direct referrals from the city and county's street outreach partners. So one of the things, we have a number of street outreach partners in the community. For example, Hearts for the Invisible. They're out in the streets building relationships, building trust with our unhoused neighbors. And they often don't have a place to refer people to. So this would earmark some capacity for those direct referrals, which would make your investments in street outreach more effective. As you discussed with Housing Safety Community in May, the desired model for this emergency shelter is really a public-private partnership. The model is that city and county would collaborate to fund the acquisition and conversion and renovation of an existing building. The private sector would fund the first 3 years of operating costs for the shelter, and then an experienced service provider would be selected to operate the shelter. So there were a couple of questions last week about the private funding. That funding has not been secured, but Sean Heath was able to reach out last week to a couple of our partners and confirm that this is indeed still a top priority of our private sector partners and our especially uptown businesses. They are committed to raise the operating costs for the first 3 years of the shelter. But just like all of your investments, you are a last-in funding source. So in this case, you could make the city funding contingent on that private sector commitment. So you could choose to not release these funds until that commitment is secured. And then the service provider would also be responsible for advancing a sustainable financial model starting in year 4. And that was actually included as an explicit component of the RFI that was released earlier in 2025. On the Dream Center campus, again, this is a The slide that you saw last week, with the one exception that we have updated anywhere indicated beds to units or rooms, because this again is also a design that would have individual rooms and bathrooms. So a couple of things I wanted to note about the Dream Center campus. So there was some questions last week about the developer. So one of the things that staff does in bringing forward recommendations is to evaluate the experience and qualifications of the development team. So the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Dream Center is a faith-based nonprofit. They have been engaged in community work since 2014, providing supportive services. And they have partnered with True Homes to develop the housing units. So True Homes will be the development partner for this proposed transitional housing campus. I do want to clarify, so that they are a 501c3 nonprofit. They were founded by Jim Noble as part of a global network of dream centers, the original one of which is in Los Angeles. So this is a model of churches and transitional housing together that extends at this point across the globe. It is a nonprofit with a professional staff, and they do have back-end administrative and financial oversight provided by the entity Noble Food and Pursuit. So I want to clarify the relationship there, as we had a number of questions last week. This development proposes a holistic approach to transitional housing that really combines stable housing, health, life skills, and in particular, job readiness training. So the core piece of the job readiness training is typically a 12-month process that serves individuals and families that are impacted by substance use, homelessness, displacement, or who are reentering the community from institutional settings. And the resident services on site that are proposed would include wraparound supports for mental health and addiction recovery, daycare services, and recreational facilities with a wide range of partnerships that have been proposed. So just a couple of points there to clarify a few of your questions from last week. And the only thing left in the presentation is if any of you have questions about other projects, we can bring those up. But that's the end of my formal presentation for tonight, trying to address a little bit of the context around supportive housing.
Thank you very much for refocusing us on this. And I think Mr. Driggs had raised his hand. Mr. Driggs.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is very responsive to a pressing concern that we have, and one, frankly, that got even more attention after the tragic murder of Irina Zarutska because of the mental state of the assailant. My question really for both of them has to do with operational kind of data, like how many people can be served, how long are they there, and do we have any indication of the kind of success they have so that we know what we're buying into?
Yep. So I'll start with the hotel conversion. This is an emergency shelter. There are 62 rooms. And now, while emergency shelter is intended to be very short-term stays, I will say that our shelter system is full, in part because we have a limited supply of permanent supportive housing to transition people out of shelter into. And so typically in our shelters right now, people are staying longer than they typically would in emergency shelter. But the capacity there is 62 rooms. Some of those would be for one adult. Some of them would be for an adult family, and others where there are 2 beds. So think about in a hotel you have some 1 bed and some 2 bed. Where there are 2 beds, they could potentially serve 2 separate households. So that's capacity-wise for the emergency shelter. The
So,
plan-
but on that one, the point I'm trying to get at is when you say longer, what is the total annual traffic through the facility? Like, how many people will be served in a year?
Okay, I can find that out and provide it in follow-up.
All right, because I think that's important, right? We're looking at a need that we've identified, a number of people, and our ability to kind of make some inroads there would depend on how long they're here and when the capacity is freed up and available for reuse. And I think the question applies to both. Again, I'm generally supportive. I want to say I think
Yep.
this is very responsive to a need.
I would
we
note
have,
about the
but-
Dream Center that this length of stay there is more defined. It's intended to be a one-year program, which is standard for transitional housing.
That's for the,
For the Dream Center campus?
right. Okay, so maybe if you could just sort of think about that and let us know how many
Yep.
people you think we can serve. And then the other question is, people who come out again, famously mental health patients, for example, have a tendency to get stabilized and so on, and then they relapse. So how are we measuring success?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
All right, Ms. Mayfield?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So a couple of questions, Rebecca. One, we'll start with the Dream Center since that's the slide that's up. I have heard from a number of partners that one of the challenges that they are having with placing some of their residents is in some of our faith-based partners funded programs. I may not be religious, but yet part of completing your program is to sit through for the one example of a word, indoctrination of what you identify as religion. Since we're saying this is a faith-based housing project, how do we ensure the religious freedoms of the individuals that may need assistance?
Sure. So you don't have a specific policy about that as it relates to faith and housing, but I can answer in two ways. One is the city does say in your contracts that you can't discriminate against people on the basis of a number of things, including religion. So they would not be able to deny access to the program to people if they did not share the same faith as the partner providing the service. That's already established.
I'm gonna pause there. Manager, we're gonna need to do a little bit more research because what we have in a contract is not necessarily what is actually experienced in communities with individuals and individuals not necessarily feeling like there is a clear path for them to seek guidance or assistance. So we may have that language in our contract. That's not necessarily how it's being implemented in some of these facilities.
In facilities that the city's funding already?
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, let's follow up on that additionally, because that's part of our contract monitoring. And then, I lost my track. So.
We have the language in
So,
place contractually.
So, and then you have the opportunity, if desired, to add other parameters. For example, Dream Center campus, this is a new partner. So in the past, you have required additional things from new partners, like additional financial controls or things like that. So you do have discretion as a council, if you choose to fund this, to think through, are there parameters that go in the contract, if that's the desire of the council.
Thank you. So you also noted that this is a program that's pretty much across the globe. Have we, and since this will be new here in Charlotte, has anyone actually done any research to actually talk to residents or previous residents at any of these other facilities?
our staff has not talked to residents at any of the other facilities. And it's a network, but it's not implementing a specific model. So here they would have the opportunity to provide transitional housing services, according to our local context and our local partners. What we can't do is give you an assessment of how successful they've been, because again, this would be a new venture for them in terms of adding the housing to their supportive services component.
So we're a guinea pig. So manager, of which he just stepped out, so whichever staff person that's with ACM that is behind me, what I also want us to look into is, one, Housing and Neighborhood Services staff, y'all are a small and mighty team. And when we're looking at who we're going to partner with, when you're looking at, I'm not as concerned if it's 2 million, 1,800,000, or 6 million. We need to make sure that, one, if it's a pilot, then we say it's a pilot, that's a different pocket. But when we're talking about our most vulnerable, and we have language in here that identifies who's the target, here's the reality. Every person that is unhoused is not also in active drug addiction. We have a number of people in our community where drugs and alcohol is not a part of their reality, and they're not able to get access to services, because when they have gone to certain places, the question is around, here's our treatment plan. I don't need a treatment plan. Life happened, but life didn't turn me necessarily to drugs and alcohol. Also, the trying to clarify for teenagers, because we also have facilities where you might have a single parent, whether it's the mother or the father, and they have both a young girl or a young boy, and some facilities are telling them the young man cannot stay there if he's over the age of 13 or over the age of 14. We're not going to put a child into an adult men's shelter. So for me, if we're having a conversation, because with the other one in partnership with the county, that one's clearly for adults, no children, unless it's a facility where families have access and would be able, whether they need assistance or not, are not isolated because they don't need some of the wraparound services, but they just need a little help, and they're not necessarily looking to be indoctrinated one way or another. Because what we have in here is we'll serve individuals and family impacted by drug and alcohol addiction, homelessness, displaced persons, individuals reentering the community from institutional settings. If there's very clear language, any one of these versus the expectation that everyone that's coming in has been impacted by drug and alcohol, one, that's a misnomer. So we're running into challenges, fortunately or unfortunately, with friends and family that I have that work directly with individuals, not being able to direct them to services. If we're looking to use tax dollars to fund this, I want us to be very clear in our contract. Now, personally, I've already shared with you, and I've already shared with this council, there is no alternative universe where I'm going to support something that is funded by Mr. Noble for the simple fact of what I have witnessed within the West Boulevard Freedom Drive corridor as the former District 3 rep, and things that you have done, and speaking with former employees of the King's Kitchen Uptown and individuals who fall in this category of our most vulnerable, and the experiences directly that they have had, and not having a space to actually address some of those concerns, you are not a good partner for me to go and stand in front of the community and say, yes, this is a good idea for us to not only fund, but for you to stay here and know that you're going to be protected. So I will not, but I want to make sure that language is in place to not only protect, if this council moves forward, those residents, but those families, because we have families out here who do not have access to housing, where that parent, mother or father, or two-parent household that have a young male and young female child because you have to have separate rooms. We can't have little boys and little girls sleeping in the same room past a certain age by our rules. So we need to make sure if we're going to make an investment, that investment is going to hit and address the needs that our community is presenting, and not just an assumption that everyone is some way connected or related to drug and alcohol addiction.
Ms. Mayfield, may I clarify as it relates to the family shelter? So it is another important need in our community for
It is.
family shelter. You are very likely to see another recommendation come forward around that because the family shelter that we have, Booth Commons, is currently closed for renovation and some unexpected costs. So these proposals cannot and are not intended to address every outstanding need. They both address a particular range of needs. And just to clarify on this slide, in terms of the language, the proposal is that this would be and. So the provider has proposed that these other categories, so if it's unclear from the placement of the verbs and the commas, just to clarify, those are ands.
I appreciate that. I want there to be very clear expectations that if we are looking to make an investment, even though we have that and there, because it was the same conversation we had in faith and housing. There's a difference between saying faith and housing versus faith in housing. So when we say that and, the reality is some of our partners, their clients are not getting access to certain things because they didn't fit in certain boxes, because we're checking off a box when we say this is what we're doing. These are the people that we're trying to target. The reality is our landscape is changing. We have a number of people, and we have funded, and we will continue to fund a number of projects that target those who need additional wraparound services. I'm saying, and if we're going to look at new investments, we create a space to address the needs that we're seeing. So our families that are choosing to live in a vehicle, really not by choice, but to keep their family together versus that family being split up because you're a young man of 13, 14, or whatever it is. The and is how are we also creating a safe space for them. Thank you, Rebecca. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I think all of us know that this is a very difficult thing to parse out this simply. And at the same time, we also know that we have so many of these pockets of who does what and how it's done. But I do remember years ago, we had Moore's Place. And that was the very top notch of what we were doing. And I think that what Ms. Mayfield is doing is pushing us to do the right things for the right groups. And so those are the people that we need to address, and I think that that's an important part of it. All of us have been around to all of the towns and places that we go visit, and we know that there are options that people have and should be able to make on their own, even when it's a tough decision to make for anyone else. But I would hope that we will support the efforts where we would build the facilities that we have, but yet also begin to think about where is the place that this makes the most sense and does the best amount of work. I think Ms. Mayfield has pointed out some of those places that perhaps we need to start thinking about differently, but at the same time, I think it's really important for us as we talk about our center city and the people that are sleeping on the streets. I would say almost any place they probably want to be able to be safe and be in a place where they know that they're going to do something. And I believe that this, with some work on it, should be able to do that for us. And I would hope that the council would support this effort. I remember Moore's Place starting out, and everybody was afraid. I mean, we were down, and that, I don't think that many of us would even know where it is now. I mean, you drive by it and you don't even think about it. But they are doing those things that I think Ms. Mayfield was saying. How do you make sure, once you get the person into the place, how do you make sure that you're treating them with dignity and having the ability for them to have choices? And that's not going to be everybody, but I do think it's important enough for us to have a Dream Center campus and to be able to have this campus treat people that make the choices there. So I appreciate what you've said and done, because we all know that. I remember when the Salvation Army wouldn't allow you to have even a certain type of blanket. These are small things that I think most of us have learned that people deserve better than that. So with that, I have Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Ms. Hefner, for the presentation. Just a couple of things. So with these two projects, we would be allocating $6.25 million of our $9 million. So we'll have a little less than a third left. And you mentioned that there might be some additional projects to come through specifically for families. So I just wanted to highlight that. The piece for the non-congregate shelter, so who is going to actually operate that shelter?
Yep. So, oops, wrong way. So one note about the 2.75 million left, that is the amount that would be left in this particular investment category within the housing bond. You do have other funding sources that can support some types of shelter and supportive services that some of your federal funding sources are able to do that, that you don't have a balance in those accounts right now, but you will be coming up. So there are all, what we do is always bring you the recommendation and then try to align it with the funding source that's available and makes the most sense. So just a note on that. So the non-congregate emergency shelter, the county would actually solicit for an experienced service provider through a national search that would actually operate the shelter. In particular, because it is a specific set of skills to provide for the medical and behavioral health services for people experiencing mental illness. So, and this would be in part for that population. Now, earlier this year, an RFI was put out to do a couple of things. One, make sure there was interest, make sure there was capacity in organizations, and to make sure that the budget that had been identified was reasonable. So I believe there were two responses to that RFI, one national provider and one local provider. And so that gave the team the confidence that they would be able to find someone and to move forward with the plans for acquisition and renovation. So once the acquisition is finalized, then a full request for proposals would be issued to solicit a service provider that, again, would be able to operate the shelter for the first 3 years with private funding, and then a sustainable funding model in year 4.
Okay. I absolutely believe we need this. This is a clear need in the community and the specificity of non-congregate. But every time, and I wasn't here last meeting, but I did listen to your presentation. And every time we talk about this, though, we use the term some shelter capacity for street outreach, where in reality, I'm of the belief that that is really the driver for this type of shelter being stood up, right? Our unhoused residents who are afraid to live in the other types of shelters. So given that we know that there's a direct need for this, it's directly correlated with some of the challenges uptown. It's going to, I'm sure, be utilized quite quickly. I feel like we need tighter language around the percentage of throughput from street outreach, right? I would hate for us to make this investment and then a few years down the line, this facility is full and we're not able to leverage it for emergency street outreach concerns. So I don't know if we have the ability to do that, but I would like to see some language that tightens the percentage of capacity, at least a minimum, right? Not a ceiling, but a floor.
You certainly have the ability to do that. So one thing is, I would ask if I could have a little bit of time to talk with Mecklenburg County in relation to Councilmember Driggs' question also, what's the total volume? And maybe come back to you with what we think is a percentage or a definition of sum that's workable within this model.
Okay, and I know that we are 50% of the financial investment here, so it really is an intergovernmental play. But I want to make sure, again, with the language that we have capacity for Charlotte residents that are experiencing issues and need housing. So I would like to see the tightening of that language. And then I know you mentioned that you're not aware of if there's a time limit for this particular one, but is there a time limit for when a participant can stay at this non-congregate shelter? Is there a time?
In terms of how long they can stay before they're required to leave?
Yes.
That hasn't been defined yet. That's something that I think would be defined in partnership with the operating provider and in an evaluation of our overall landscape in terms of what median length of time people are staying in shelters across the landscape.
Okay, I'm really asking that because I've been in several conversations with our DA, Merriweather, where he talks about, the gap, right? So when someone is arrested, they really need wraparound services, they don't have a place to live. There's a balance there of like releasing them to be back on the street, but they don't really have any support or any place to stay. And so thinking about if this is an opportunity for some of those individuals to go and get a very stringent, participate in a stringent program that would stand them back up to stability, but allow for the throughput, right, of this, because it's only 62 rooms, so it's not a whole lot. It's going to fulfill a need, but quite frankly, we need more. This is just a fraction of what we're experiencing. So I would just like tighter language around that, especially for our investment of being 50%. And with the Dream Center, I do agree with the mayor about Moore's Place and have spent some time with Roof Above and know their investment. They also, with our support, have opened up a shelter as well at King's College, converting some of those dorm rooms. So we're getting slowly, right, some of this capacity online. So I definitely support both. I just want to make sure we have some language that ensures that Charlotte residents will have capacity and opportunity at this non-congregate shelter. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, thank you. It's going to take a moment. Mr. Graham, followed by Ms. Johnson, followed by Ms. Ajmira.
And I'll be quick, Madam Mayor. I just want to thank you for the presentation and bringing it back and drilling down more. I think that this is sorely needed for our community for a wide variety of reasons. You just take a ride down Batesford Road or West Boulevard or Reagan Drive. We need a facility where we can run people to services, just not run them away. And so I think this is certainly much needed. Both of the projects fall in City Council District 2, in which I represent, and certainly we welcome it because this is not a about a district issue. It's about providing safe, clean, affordable housing for people throughout the city. I like the idea that we're focusing and working with Mecklenburg County. This goes back to a home for all, which there is a three-legged stool between the city, the county, and the private community for support. I was able to talk since our last meeting with members of the CELC about their commitment for funding the first 3 years. I think that commitment is there, and those fundings are there, so I feel real comfortable moving forward as relates to both of the projects, providing the funding. And again, this is just a drop in the bucket, actually, and it's going to take 18 to 24 months to construct and put online. And so we still have work to do, but this certainly is a great step in the right direction. I look forward to supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Graham. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Rebecca, for the presentation. I'm excited about the 2 projects in District 4 that are home ownership, so I appreciate that. But I wanted to ask you about the current situation for shelters in Charlotte. If I'm a family with an adult male child and that still lives at home and a daughter, a family shelter, where is there to go today?
Right, so currently, as noted, there is not an open family shelter. That's the Booth Commons shelter, which was a shelter purchased or a hotel purchased by the Salvation Army during COVID, is currently closed for renovations.
And when is the estimated completion date of the Dream Center?
So the proposal is for the first phase of the Dream Center. That includes 8 units, so 48 rooms, along with the clubhouse that would provide the space for the resident services. And so I would have to get a construction schedule related to that, but because it's construction, it would be anywhere from 12 to 24 months to go through the full process of plan review and construction. So similar to your other investments.
And they're asking for how much?
$2 million.
So $2 million is for the construction cost, and then there will be the cost of operations, correct?
So the operations are not a part of the financial ask. The operations would be funded through philanthropic and other investments in the nonprofit.
So the Dream Center, is this their first? This is the first ask for Dream Center?
Yes.
Right? There's other projects that they're asking for a second bite of the apple, right? In the
No, so
presentation.
the Dream Center.
Not the Dream Center, but other providers or other projects tonight that were presented?
Yes, so there are 3 developments in your overall pool of Housing Trust Fund applications that were previously funded and are seeking additional gap funding. Those are Avalon at Newell, which is one of your District 4 homeownership developments, the River District Apartments, and Weddington Apartments.
So, thank you. So, I would just like to speak to council or the manager about this. We've had projects in the past that when they come back to us and seek additional funding, it's been frowned upon, as if there was some mismanagement or they should have gotten it right the first time. So I just want to, when we talk about equity and fairness, I just want to recall when other organizations have asked for additional funding, they weren't able to receive it. And one of those was the Heal Charlotte project that was already doing the work, right? And so when they didn't get additional funding, it kind of created this snowball effect where another organization had to come in, but that was a project that was on the ground, doing the work. And I just want to, and when Mr. Jackson came for additional funding for operations, he wasn't able to get it. And so it was frowned upon that, he wasn't able to keep the doors open. And again, it caused a snowball effect. And when we talk about upward mobility, you said a national organization to do the work, reentry supportive housing. We have organizations here in Charlotte that are doing the work, not just Heal Charlotte or other organizations, but there might have been opportunities. So I just want us as council members to feel how all of our work kind of comes together. We talk about upward mobility and displacement. There are smaller organizations that could have done this work, especially if they were going to get $2 million for the housing or construction. And then there was organizations, philanthropic or county, that were going to pay to the operations. The operations is the hardest part
So
for nonprofits.
just to clarify, it's a national search. They have not predetermined that it would be a national service provider.
Okay. I thought that's what you said. Okay. And then also, for the companies or projects that are asking for the second bite at the apple, I can recall different projects when the market changed or construction costs changed, that it was, again, seemingly frowned upon to come back. Can you tell me what's the reason that was it an estimate or the market change, an interest rate, or can you tell me why these 3 projects would be asking for additional funding?
Sure. So I'll just give a little context, which is prior to COVID, it really wasn't common that a developer would come back to request additional funding. During the pandemic, a whole range of things happened, including significant price escalation for construction costs, as well as the delay of many projects. And so one thing to think about when you provide funding, that funding actually doesn't go into the deal until closing. And so anything that changes about the project, so in those time delays, can impact the amount of gap that a project has. So coming out of COVID with your ARPA dollars, the city did provide a number of projects with additional gap funding. And as a specific request for proposals that went out to fill some of those gaps. Since that time, you have done it on occasion. And what I would say about these 3 in particular, so I'm going to go back to this again. So when we look at River District Apartments, this is a development that was funded by City Council very early in the process of the development. So much earlier than you as a council would typically make an investment. The commitment of funds to this project was specific so that there would be affordable housing and that it would be part of the first phase of the River District. So this was originally approved in 2021. And funded early on purpose, I think, is what the comments that were made from council at the time. So a lot has changed since that original approval, and this project did receive funding in that specific round of ARPA funding. There is now an additional $900,000 gap, and that gap is partly created by previous commitments from LISC and their funding partners to contribute to the project. They weren't able from their funding partners to meet this commitment 4 years later. I think staff recommends this and to advance this previously funded development. The developers have indicated that with this gap funding, they would be able to close financing in November and actually start construction in December. So that's the River District.
And Rebecca, we can go over this offline. I don't want to
Okay.
take up too much time. It's just that, I mean, and not just in development, but I can think of another situation in the past when a project or vendor or contractors come before us again to ask for additional funding if the market changed or something changed, and it's not even from you, but it was received differently. So I just want us to keep that in mind. And I would ask the city manager, so 2 years is just too long for no family shelter. There are families that are living in cars, and right now, I just want you all to hear, if you're a family with, who needs a family shelter, there's just not one available. So, like I said, we did have one that wasn't continued to be funded, and so now we have this gap. So I think that we really need to consider doing something before 12 to 24 months, because there are families with children that have a need tonight, and there's just nothing. So, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, let me thank Rebecca and the team for providing that memo. So I did my homework over the weekend, and I had an opportunity to review what you had sent, because I had concerns about a non-congregate shelter, especially the cost per room. We are looking at almost 40 to 68,000 per room cost, which is significantly high than per construction cost per unit. I understand that this is very different because we are having on-site medical care and then on-site supportive services. So it's very different model than our traditional model of building and developing affordable housing. Certainly, I agree with my colleagues. There is a greater need for more spaces like emergency shelter that provides non-congregate space for those who may not be able to fit into congregate style model. So I appreciate that, and I understand, and I wanted to see if we can look at other examples in the past of similar development that we had approved, and what was the cost. Certainly, the cost has gone up significantly high in past 5 to 6 years, but I think that will give us a comparison of how these models, we need to have a separate tool to consider this kind of proposals than other model. I think when we use the same template, it doesn't do justice to this. So I think having a separate template just for this kind of proposals would be helpful. Second, I had an opportunity to review the details for River District as well as Weddington Apartments. I know I had expressed concerns about second or third time the request had come to us for additional funding. And I know that's not certainly something that it's been looked at positively. But I understand when it comes to Weddington Apartments, we approved that a long time ago because of the legal challenges and the construction cost has gone up. We have to factor that into per unit cost, and it's still relatively higher than other proposals that we have in front of us, but it's also because of the location, the tax credit has now is lower than what it used to be per amount. So there are a lot of factors that have gone into consideration. I certainly appreciate hearing from developers. I did hear from Julie Porter as well as Erin Barbie from Dream Key Partners that helped me understand some of the escalation in construction costs. What I would like us to do is look at policy when we have proposals that come back to us for second time or third time, we got to develop some sort of policy about how do we address those delays and what criteria we need to set or our parameters when proposals come back to us for additional funding. Right now, we don't have anything, so, but I think we do need to have something. Also, for River District, I understand that they had, well, the challenge that River District Apartments had run into was, number one, that CHOI funding wasn't delivered based on the original commitment. So, and that created a gap. And the second reason was one of our infrastructure project, which was West Boulevard Extension, that was delayed. So if we can get an update as to why that West Boulevard Extension was delayed, number one. And number two, also if we can get an update on how are we doing in terms of fundraising. I know LISC is in charge of fundraising our CHOIF dollars. I would be interested in understanding how far are we with the second tranche of money? Because if that created a gap, I guess the question we have to ask, do we always pick up the tab, right? In this case, there was a gap of $400,000. So LISC had originally committed $3 million. Let me make sure I'm saying the numbers correctly, hold on. $3 million, and in CHOIF 2, because the project was delayed because of West Boulevard Extension, CHOIF 2 did not fundraise enough money, so there was a gap of $400,000. So original commitment was $3 million from LISC under CHOIF 1, but under CHOIF 2, they only provided $2.6 million towards this development.
Mm-hmm.
So that created the gap for the city. So the question is, does the city always pick up the tab, right? I think that's the policy question that we need to consider. If the other parties do not deliver their commitment, we need to have a policy around that and how we address that.
One note I would make to that, Councilmember Ajmira, while it doesn't exist in your policy, what staff does anytime a developer comes back for additional funding is we first put them through the paces of all of the other available funding sources that they may be eligible for. And typically, we're able to help connect them to at least some funding to help close their gap. So staff we still do complete underwriting, just like we do on the first go-round. And then we look to support them in finding alternative funding sources. So you do, from time to time, have developments that come back because other partners in the capital stack haven't been able to meet their full commitment. And one example, recently, the View at Honeywood, staff were able to work with them to close that gap in other ways. Now, staff worked very closely with River District and Weddington Road to go through that exercise. And so while there's not a policy, we can assure you that according to the underwriting, there is a need, and they have evaluated all other sources that we would be able to help connect them to.
So what other sources that you had looked into or that they were connected with?
Yeah, so this is the kind of question where it'll be helpful to have my handy Assistant Director of Affordable Housing on hand. Unfortunately, he's out of town tonight, so I'll have to provide you with a list.
Because I certainly enjoyed reading this over the weekend. But also, I think we do need to understand, because I know that LISC gets funding from the city. It's part of our annual process. They used to be financial partner. Now they have moved into core partners. What is it called? Oh, not financial partner where they have to apply every year, but yeah. So I think we need to understand how they are doing with fundraising. In Choice 1, I appreciate that they were able to help us raise and match our dollars, which was $50 million. With the second phase, the only reason I found out is because I asked the question why there is additional ask. So that's when we knew that Choice 2 was behind in fundraising, or they weren't able to fundraise as much as they did in Choice 1. And that's clearly a concern. So if we can get an update on
Yeah,
that.
we'll provide a follow-up report.
Yes, that would be great. And I understand that there is not a policy, but there is a process, underwriting process, where we look at other sources. Because what I'm worried about is we have finite amount of money, and we've already discussed in Housing and Safety Committee. I know that Councilwoman Mayfield always points that out. We have, during our update you provided, that there are federal challenges, and we need to be mindful of additional asks that come in front of us as to how do we continue to build more with the limited pool of funding that we have. So I think even though you are already going through this exam process of underwriting, we need to codify that in the policy. If there is an additional ask because the other parties did not meet their commitment, what do we do in that? Last but not the least, because we are talking about housing, I thought I'd bring this up. Because I read earlier today in the news that in 2021, we had worked with Atrium as they were doing as they were bringing medical campus to our city. We approved funding to partner with Atrium and the county, and they were going to incorporate affordable housing in their development. So I read in the news today, news article that was published by CLT Ledger, that as of October 2025, that component had not been realized, which was supposed to be delivered by 2024. So given the historical significance of Brooklyn development, Brooklyn neighborhood, and just our investment in the project, I'd like to get an update on how Atrium plans to fulfill on their commitment. And if you can provide us a memo, that would be great. And we need concrete timeline and measures in place for accountability. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. I don't have a whole lot. My colleagues have said a lot, but I do want to go back to Councilmember Johnson. I know a lot of times you and I have like minds, and for a great reason, we do great work together. But I did want to speak on Heal Charlotte, though. I know you mentioned their name several times, and when I wasn't on the council, you all were very lenient to Heal Charlotte and Freedom Fighting Missionaries, which a large sum of money for the great works that they were doing. From my understanding, Heal Charlotte did not comply and do what he was supposed to do as far as back on the paperwork. So I do want to speak on that, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, there's a lot of other organizations that could have received that funding. And so I'm almost sure, and I'm speaking on facts with the staff, that Heal Charlotte wouldn't be eligible to receive funding from us anymore because of not following through on the paperwork. Now, if you want to follow up on that, and we can circle back around, but I definitely don't want, they've been eliminated for a reason. And I just wanted to say that on record.
Well, I know that the over 130, I'm sorry. She was talking.
Thank you, Mayor. In 2013, I hadn't been elected yet, and Warren Cooksey encouraged me to come along to a community meeting for the original rezoning for this. 600 people were there, and they were all basically protesting. Weddington, yeah. I'm sorry, I'm talking about Weddington. Is that, we're not on Weddington? No. Excuse me, I saw the slide, I was out of the room. Are we going to talk about Weddington? Yes.
I was just verifying that that's the one, the Weddington project. Thank you.
We are talking about Weddington, right? Okay, all right, thank you. So, and that caused then a really citywide discussion about whether or not District 7 was going to allow affordable housing development to occur. And there was a perception of just hostility down in South Charlotte. And so I really welcome this. I recognize it's a cost premium, which has to do with the fact that it's expensive. And if our location policy wants dispersion, we have to recognize the costs in some areas are higher than others. I'm pleased to say that when the community meeting for this took place, there were 30 people there, and they were very calm. They had routine questions. We have managed to get several other affordable housing type developments done down in South Charlotte, so I hope the whole issue of that kind of hostility and resistance is no longer a problem. But I really think it would be a good thing if we could get this done down there to prove a point as well as to create some very useful housing. Thank you.
Thank you. I just wanted to, I shouldn't have, well, I guess I could have referred to Hill Charlotte directly, but I don't know if they're eligible in the future or not. I will say that I know that the work that they did during the year, they filled a gap. And most of the problems didn't start, the public problems didn't start until after they were gone. I was referring to a grassroots organization in general, that we have organizations that might have been able to fill this need, and I didn't see the need for a national organization to come in and fill the gap. Thank you.
All right, I believe that everyone has had an opportunity to speak on this topic, and I'm really glad that people are determined to have a process that works for us and our neighborhoods and our friends and people that are with us that we need to make sure have the ability to be their very best self. So I'm going to close out this one, and we'll go moving to the Metropolitan Public Transportation Authority appointment process. So this is our first action review item as we've set aside additional time. Okay, I don't know what that does, but set aside for different time. So for council to discuss and build consensus around the process that will be used for appointments to the Metropolitan Public Transportation Authority Board. Council has provided feedback since the last discussion on October the 6th, and I would like to ask Councilmember Mitchell to lead us through the updated revised process recommendations.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Let me first start off by thanking my ride or die committee members, Councilmember Mayfield, Councilmember Driggs, who we have met on Sunday, Friday, every day except for Saturday, right? To try to bring back a process recommendation for you all. And let me thank staff, interim city attorney Anthony Fox, Liz Batson, pose Liz. I would not call you on the weekend anymore, Liz. And then our city clerk, Stephanie Kelly. And Mayor, you mentioned on October 6th, we heard loud and clear from council members. You gave us great feedback on three key areas. One, you wanted more opportunity to give input on which candidates would be interviewed, more input into the questions that would be asked, and ability for council members to attend the interviews. And as you see, as we move forward, I think we have addressed all three of those. So let me walk through the recommendation process we'd like to present to you today. October 14th, and Amanda has already confirmed we'll do a special delivery. You will receive all, currently right now, there are 126 applications as of 1:45 today. 126. It will be closed at midnight tonight, Councilmember Brown. And so on Tuesday, you'll get a special delivery of our application resume. Then we ask on October 20th, our partners, the Alliance Foundation for Carolinas and the mayor, will give us their nominations they'll be making. We'd like to propose that all interviews be 30 minutes long. And council members, we need your input to submit at least 2 questions that you would like asked part of the interview process. Then council, loud and clear, we'd like to get your input on the top 3 applicants per category. And so when you receive your special delivery package tomorrow, city staff, Stephanie Kelly Department will break down each by category. Thank you, Councilmember Mayfield. She is handing out the current list of 126 applicants we have received. On October 22nd, we will notify all 27 applicants of the schedule and who will be moving forward to the interview. October 27th through the 31st, Councilmember Driggs, Councilmember Mayfield, and myself will be conducting interviews, and we invite all council members to attend. Give us some flexibility. We're asking that we will at least, to be consistent, have up to 22 questions we will ask the interviewer. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. We'll have a group of 22 questions, and we will ask each interviewer 11 questions each. Flip over. Yeah, oh, thank you, Councilman Mayfield. And so and Council, this was tough for us because you realize if Dr. Watlington interviews on Monday, Councilmember Mitchell interviews on Friday, Council Mitchell has an advantage because 4 days of interviewing has taken place and they have heard the same question. And so if you allow us to have some flexibility, we want to be consistent, but we also want to have a different question we can ask through the process. So that's why we're saying, give us a total of 22, and each applicant, though, will be asked 11 questions. Councilman Mayfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just for clarity on that, for that day of interviews, everyone will be asked the same question on that day. But since this process is going to be public, we didn't want to give an unfair advantage by just having one set of questions, as Councilmember Mitchell mentioned, where you get a chance to think on it or do a little bit more research. So out of the total 22 questions, it will be mixed up, but everybody that's on the schedule for that day will be asked the same question.
Thank you, Councilmember Mayfield. Next slide, please. Thank you. On November 6th, then, the work group will make recommendations, and we will rank them first, second, and third per category. This will be included in your package that you will receive November 6th. And part of our normal nominating process, on November 10th, each council member would nominate one applicant, and then the final vote, if no one receives 6, then the final vote will be on November 24th. We have a timeline. Next slide, please. So here's a timeline, council, of kind of we have laid everything out. October 14th is a big day for all of us. You will receive every resume and every application. October 22nd, we will make a list of those who you have asked to move forward for the interview process. In the interview process, we're going to encourage as many of you all, Councilmember Johnson brought up a good point, so we're going to make this virtual as well in person. Now, the three of us will be in person. You can join us if you want to, or you can do it in the leisure of your home to join us virtually. Here's a big deadline for us. It's December 12th. According to our MOU, all appointments must be approved, and then the authority actually, per MOU, the first day is January the 1st, 2026. Mayor Pro Tem, at this time, I entertain any questions from council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Any questions for the group? Sounds like you did a fantastic job. No questions.
Thank you, council. Thank you, committee. Okay.
Okay. Ms. Ajmer.
So thank you to the committee
Thank you.
for putting in a lot of work and meeting over the weekend to meet the timeline. Couple of questions. So
Sure.
you said there will be 27 people that the committee will be interviewing.
Yes, that's from the input from council members. You're going to be ranking 1, 2, and 3, and so you will be giving input. And one thing that's not on here, it should be, we're using SurveyMonkey.
Yes. To make it easy to vote.
Right, to make it easy to vote. So,
Yeah,
we missed that.
Yeah, it's there.
it's on the bottom.
Okay, thank
So-
you. We're using SurveyMonkey to make it very easy. So I'd like to thank Councilmember Mayfield for introducing technology
For y'all to be able
to
go
make
in,
it simple
pick
for
your
us.
two.
So if each council member selects 3 people.
Nope.
No.
3
just
per
top 3.
category.
3 per category.
Yes. Remember, we have not, yes,
We have 9 categories.
There you go. Yes.
So each person selects 3.
yes, right. That's 27.
Yeah, so that's 27.
Right.
So each person selects 3, but that doesn't mean all 3 will be interviewed.
That's
Only
correct.
the top.
There you go, only the top, based
Got
on
it.
all of us.
Okay, so
Yes.
we have to rank them.
That's right.
Okay, so the survey monkey will tell us 1, 2, and 3.
You got it.
Got it, okay. But the results, would we all get the results at the same time? Who
Yes, we will.
selected?
Yes, we will. The results should come back. Can we turn to the slide? October 22nd. Yes. You will have the results.
Okay, so no one can see who selected what until then?
Right.
Got it. Okay, and what 9 categories are these, if you can remind me?
Law, logistic, transportation, public transportation, small business, architect, urban planning, and accounting.
But also, remember, the attorney said that we have the ability to interpret that. So as an example, you're a 30-plus year bus driver, you got transportation experience.
You got theme music.
So, because Councilmember Mayfield made a very good point, because there might be an individual that might meet multiple categories.
And we're leaving that up to you to choose.
to decide,
Remember, you're going
okay.
to have the application and the resume, so we're empowering you to make
Got
that
it.
decision.
Okay, so you will select top from each one of us to interview as part of this 27
Yes,
members interview panel.
yes.
Got it.
The Survey Monkey will.
Okay, I got it. And then you guys will make recommendations first, second, and third.
Correct,
So-
after the interview.
So how many will be in the first, how many will be in the second, and how many will be in the third?
First will be 9.
Okay.
Second will be 9, and third will be 9.
Okay. And so our appointments are only 7, because 2 are mayoral appointments.
Correct.
So are you making recommendations to mayoral appointments as well, or that's independent?
That's independent. Remember, you have the mayor, 2 appointments, you have Business Alliance has 2, and Foundation of Carolina has 1.
Okay, so even from the first, we still have 2 extra. Let's say in the first, because you're recommending 9 people
Correct.
in each category.
Recommending 3 people per each category, not 9. We got
So you
9.
have first and second and third, and you said 9, 9, 9 each, right?
Right. But first, we'll recommend 9, right? Represent each category.
Category.
Right.
Okay, so it's still 1 per category.
There you go. That's right.
But then there are 9 people, there are 9 categories, but there are only 7 appointments.
That's correct. So we're hoping some of the appointments that were made will help us fit those other categories.
Oh, so hopefully the mayor will use that recommendation to fit the remaining.
Yes.
To ensure that there is a balanced
There's
representation.
a balanced representation. You're exactly right.
Got it. Well, certainly you all have figured this out. I will say that one of my concerns when you all presented this last week was that the committee would make no recommendations to keep this process as fair, as objective, as transparent as possible. But that concern is still not addressed. So I will certainly keep some of these recommendations in mind, but at the end of the day, the council will
You're exact-
ultimately make their own decision.
Exactly right, Ms. Edgemere. And we want to make sure it follow our normal process, so we want to make sure council still had the ability to vote.
Oh, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Graham?
Thank you. Just want to make sure that it still holds true that the other appointments will be made prior to our appointment?
Yes.
That's the mayor, the foundation, and the CELC?
So, Councilman Graham, we hope to get those on October 20th, correct, before you start voting.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And while we're dividing the list by categories, there may be, for an example, 5 candidates that we like in law, but maybe none in logistics? So do we have to be forced to vote for someone in logistics?
Well, in this process,
I'm going to ask my interim city attorney.
Because those are just qualifiers, right? So you can have 5 in one category and maybe 0 in another one, right?
The PAVE Act describes what categories for membership are appropriate.
Yeah.
It doesn't mandate, though, that you have to have a specific number of representation from each category.
Yeah. So again, just wanted to point that out. And I sent a memo to all the council members in terms of things that were important to me that I wish that you guys would ask, right? But I'm with Councilmember Eshamir. I will support it for sure. But, those things are important to me. And those are the type of qualifications and skill sets that I'm looking for and someone that I will lend my support to. Certainly someone who can hit the ground running on day one and require leadership positions as committee chairs and even chair the board, and someone that's willing to commit the time. It's going to be a lot of time. So we don't need folks that just want to see their name on the letterhead. We need folks that's willing to commit the time right up front as we plan to put together an organization. So I think that's really critical. It's the time commitment. Are they willing to put in the time? And then secondly, issues that we talked about before surround displacement, small business, i.e. minority business. We can outreach for sure to those communities to let them know what the opportunities are. No goals, outreach. I think that's really important. And so hopefully that will be some guiding principles, and hopefully that other council members will do the same. But I support the process, but I think we got to get it right. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Watlington?
Thank you. I have a few questions, just as I'm listening to this conversation. I think some things I thought I understood are a little bit different than what I anticipated. So what you all are suggesting, building on what Councilmember Graham was asking, given that there is no mandate that there's one of each category, and we're not assigning people to particular categories to be judged against each other within a framework, it feels quite possible that we could end up clipping people out of the process simply because I might have made this person my top 3 in logistics, and you made that person your top 3 in law, and we don't actually end up with a real representation of the preferences of the group. Did I understand that correctly, first of all?
City attorney for the interpretation. I guess she asked, do we
Yes, the process is a process based upon the selection within the categories, the top 3 of each category. There's no mandate, though, that you have to select based upon the categories.
And there's also no consistency in terms of where this person would be considered. I just think about when
Well, the reality is that you've got an applicant pool of 130-some
Sure.
people, many of whom include multiple categories in their own description and application. And the PAVE Act really just requires qualifications or demonstrated experience, and they have proffered that in their application.
Yeah, so thank you. I just want to be careful. I think about some time ago with the budget conversation, Councilmember Mayfield had gone through an exercise, and there were questions about if this particular organization had been in a different category, they may have made it into the process. And so I'm just reminded of that, and I'm very concerned that we may be putting boundaries around the process such that the integrity of the selection may be impacted. When I say integrity, I don't mean how people are choosing, but that the choices reflect the actual preferences of the body. I think we're running a very significant risk in that regard. I like that there that you all have done a lot of work to get us here. With that, I hear some of my colleagues say, appreciate the recommendations, I'll keep these in mind, but at the end of the day, the council will determine who ends up in these seats. So with that then, I want to make sure, last time we spoke, we talked about if somebody was to go through the list and say, hey, this person, I want them interviewed, that they could be added to the list. Has that changed?
Yes. So, Dr. Wallington, we hope in the first part that with our council input, that we would get down to 27. That this council say, well, we want to move to the next phase of interviewing.
Right. No, I appreciate that that's the should, but in the event that we look across and we say, hey, we got some gaps here, I want to make sure that it's clear that from where I sit, I would expect that we have that conversation. And if we've got to add some folks and there's some flexibility there, then we can do that.
I think even Councilman Graham made a comment last time. It's about quality.
Exactly.
And not quantity. And I think we all was open to have that conversation if we don't have the right quality, we think.
Okay, so then the other question that I had is around, well, two more. Number one, evaluation criteria was mentioned, that there would be another prioritization by the work group based on the interview. Can you just help me understand, when you say prioritization, does that mean that you all are going to reduce the number, or are you simply assigning, okay.
Reduce, no ma'am.
Okay, and that evaluation criteria is going to be developed by whom? Or is it already here somewhere?
It'll be developed by the work group. Give us a little latitude because we didn't want to publicly announce it, but you will see that once we see the recommendation.
Recommendation?
We want to be careful and make sure that those who will be interviewed based on the 11 questions we'll be asking them, and not be interviewed based on the criteria we are using. Is that better?
I may be the only one that doesn't understand, so I don't want to belabor the point.
I think, I'll jump in. I think the goal of the committee, from what I heard, is to make sure you don't put criteria out there that forecast what the interview process and the selection process is going to be, because applicants will then tailor their interviews to that criteria.
Okay.
That's why the interest, as I understood, was not to
City
publish
Attorney.
the criteria, but to share it with the council after the rated list was provided to the council.
Okay. Okay, and then finally, I think, I just want to be sure, and I've had some conversations, we talked about this the last time we had this conversation around here, and I've had some conversations offline with the architects of the bill. And as we talk about how we do our appointments, ultimately, statutorily, they are council appointments, but we are saying as a group that we would like to take two of those appointments and make a selection upon the recommendation of the mayor. Somewhere that needs to be codified. So is this presentation going to show up as a council policy?
I think what you're referring to is that the governing body makes the appointments.
Right.
And the governing body makes the appointment for all 12.
Right.
I think that's the codification right there. Where the 12 comes from is a product of this board adopting the recommendations, be it from the Alliance or from the Foundation of the Carolinas or from the mayor. But the ultimate action will be this body as the governing body making the appointment of the 12 individuals.
Understood. The difference between the two is that the foundation and the business community is in the statute, but there is no documentation that says the mayoral recommendation will be yielded to for these appointments. So if we want to do that, and it sounds like there's a will for that, it needs to be documented as part of a policy somewhere, because it's not in the statute.
I think the action that's required and contemplated under the act is the appointment to be made by the governing body.
Right.
How the governing body gets at those appointments.
Correct.
Is not, the act is silent on that.
Exactly.
So
That's
it
what I'm saying,
doesn't,
we need to
but
document.
you don't want to codify everything, otherwise you're going to codify the selection criteria of how you determine the number of membership.
And I'm
stuff
okay if
like
we do
that.
that too, because 3 years from now, if someone says, all right, there's a vacancy here, well, that was something that was a person that was recommended by the mayor, but that was just tradition. There's no guarantee at that point that the mayor will be able to make a recommendation there. Like, we do things by tradition, but if we don't document it via some kind of standing policy, then down the road, we're having conversations as to whether or not we execute to that same standard. And I think that's going to cause us some issues later on.
Let me try this on then. Why wouldn't you just do the appointment of the 12 by a resolution of the council? The resolution will spell out who the appointees are and what seats they sit in.
I'm fine with that, as long as the resolution is not just for that day, but it is spelling out this is going to be the ongoing process unless and until the council makes a change.
It's up to the council.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So just, I think I hear what you're saying, Dr. Watlington, because it's not about mayor, it's about the office of the mayor.
Correct.
And in perpetuity, to have the language in place and have it on record that the office of the mayor for these appointments will have
Two recommendations.
appointments, and that stays with the office of the mayor.
Correct.
That, I just wanted to make sure that I was hearing you. Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so with that said, then whenever this official vote comes to place, we'll see it as I hear it from you. If nobody else has an issue with that, we will see it as a resolution.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you for that. So I appreciate that. I think I understand where we are. I think I sit somewhere near where the other two council members have said that certainly appreciate the recommendations, reserve the right to execute, to deliver the quality. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Johnson?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I just want to clarify. Councilmember Mitchell, you said on 10/20, the alliance would make their recommendations. Did you also say the mayor would make her recommendations at that time? Yes. Okay, because, okay. So the mayor will make her recommendations, and then each council member will have 9 recommendations?
Each council member will have 3 recommendations per category.
So the, so 27, each council?
27. Your top 27.
So this, so potentially, we could have, what was that number, 281 or something, potentially? So, but you're not going to interview all of our recommendations. You want to narrow that number down to 27?
The Survey Monkey would narrow it down.
Survey
Yes.
Monkey? Okay. And then the interviews start on what date?
Amanda, can you bring up, interview will start October 27th? through
27th
October- Through October
31st.
31st.
And then election day is what date?
Election date is
November 4th.
November 4th.
So what is the hurry that we wouldn't wait until after to see if the referendum passes? Because if it didn't pass, then you've interviewed 27 people. There's a lot of time the council is spending on this. What is the harm waiting an additional week?
That's a good question. I think from a time frame, and Stephanie
It
Kelly's
was a
already.
product, I think it was a product of the memorandum of understanding that was
okay.
entered
You
into
agreed
by
to
this council as well as by the county, and that was brought before this board and agreed to by this body.
Okay, but I mean, do you understand what I'm saying? If it
Because I
didn't,
think we have to stand it by December 3rd.
right.
Yes.
So if you started the interviews on November 5th, you still would have time. I mean, that's just something to think about from a practical perspective. That was just, I mean, it's a week, and then if it didn't pass, I mean, we really are moving forward. We really should take transparency into consideration when we're hearing from people. I mean, it's not to appear tone deaf. You also mentioned something, Mr. Fox, that I want to clarify what you said. You said that we're not publicizing the eligibility because we don't want people to prepare their interview based on the eligibility? Or can you repeat what you said?
I said that the committee's discussion centered around not publicizing the criteria under which they'll rank the applicants, because the applicants, if they're aware of the criteria, may be able to tailor their interviews according to the end result that you're measuring.
So this is a public position, and when we're issuing like RFPs, the criteria is listed, and it's a transparent process. I just think that's something we should think about. This is a public seat, and I think as much should be publicized as possible. I ask for a website or something. I want for the public to really feel like they're engaged in this process, and so I think even a matrix or metrics would be appropriate in this situation, so that the public knows how this is being evaluated. I think the eligibility should be publicized before and after. How are these individuals selected? I think we really, really need to be intentional about this. We have a reputation, council members, and if we want to change it, you have to do things differently. So I think this is an opportunity to do things differently. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brown?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I don't disagree with Ms. Johnson. I won't be here after the 4th, so it doesn't matter. I don't support it anyway. But I do support you, Mr. Mitchell, for your process. Even though I don't support the referendum, and I will be voting no and encouraging others to do so, I support your work. And so since I sit on the council, I do want the work to be as transparent as it possibly can. I think you worked hard. You called everybody to get their opinion, even me coming off the airplane to speak with you to see if I had any questions. So if it went to after November 4th, it would not hurt my feelings at all. It would be a problem for the new council, and I wouldn't have to worry about it. But your process that you and your colleagues, the board, have worked on, I take dignity in you going back and receiving what we did on last week, took our feedback, worked with it, try to work through some of the puzzles and the pieces. So I do appreciate that. So if you move forward, I'm good. I'm going to do my due diligence, look through the list, make my recommendation, listen to the interviews, and listen attentively, because if I start to go through this list, some folks should be X'd off already. I'm just saying. That's
Thank
just
you,
my
Councilmember
opinion.
Brown.
And I'm still going to be as fair as I possibly can be or need to be. And if it's somebody I don't think I can be fair on, just recuse myself away from those folks. Ms. Johnson, I don't disagree with what you just said. I yield.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell, I wanted the opportunity to speak, and then we can circle back around. Okay?
Also, my name is on.
Yeah, I have you. I just haven't spoken yet, so I wanted to thank you and the work group for the work that you've done. I really appreciate the fact that we have a process, and you guys were very thoughtful about that. And we'll still have the opportunity to debate and discourse after we've gone through that process. So we have a process to guide us, but it's not so rigid that we're not able to have discourse and debate at the end, especially as we look at where we're at as it relates to the individuals who make it through, and then thinking about if there are any potential holes. As was said before, maybe there might be some duplication in certain groups, and we might have some holes here and there. So to be able to streamline that through debate and discourse is very helpful. I also think we should start immediately. I think, this is a serious process, and we don't know how long our debate will actually take. So I want to make sure we maximize the time that we have. We didn't have the capacity to dictate how much time we have, but we need to utilize and leverage as much of that time as possible. I'm also encouraged by the number of people who have applied, and that's quite a bit, and you have applications represented throughout all 7 districts, which is also very good. So I will lean in and join you in the interview process that day and just provide as much of support as I can to the working group. Okay. All right, I have, Ms. Mayfield, did you want to speak again? Okay. I had Ms. Thank you. I have Ms. Ajmir, and then I have Mr. Graham.
So I just wanted to follow up, Mr. Mitchell, Committee Chairman. I know you had mentioned that there are 9 recommendations in the first category that your committee will be making. And even though the council only has 7 appointments, the remaining 2 will be recommended to the mayor. But I know that your committee is making recommendations on November 6th, while the mayor makes her appointments on 20th. October 20th, but you will be making recommendations on the 6th.
November,
November 6th.
right.
October, November.
October 20th is the mayor make the
So
recommendation.
that's what I'm saying. So if your committee is making recommendation on the 6th of 9 people, where 2 are for the mayors,
Right.
then that's late because the mayor makes recommendations, mayor makes the appointments on October 20th.
November 6th is after October 20th, so why are we late?
No. So the mayor will make her appointments on October 20th,
Correct,
right?
correct.
And the committee is making recommendations, 9 recommendations on November 6th, but
Right.
2 are meant for the mayor,
Correct.
right?
We'll make hers.
But she would, so
She
you would
have
give
already
her your recommendations ahead of time?
No, I would tell you the recommendations ahead of time.
they're her
You would know
recommendations.
more.
They're her recommendations.
No, I'm saying, because you said there are extra 2 recommendations you're making. You're making 9 recommendations.
Right.
Come on.
And we only have 7 appointments.
The mayor's 2 makes 9.
Yeah, you go.
So Councilmember Mitchell, the mayor will have already made her appointment.
Exactly.
So our 9 is outside of the mayor's appointment.
I'm sorry.
Ours are only 7.
We only have 7.
Oh, well, that's, okay, you were saying 9, okay.
So ours,
So of our 27 recommendations, only 7 will be recommended.
It's only 7 be recommended by city council.
Okay.
Good point.
Right.
yeah. Okay. Another thing, so I know that evaluation criteria, we talked about this last Monday, where we wanted this process to be as transparent, as objective, and as factual as possible. But if you're not putting out the evaluation criteria, that takes that transparency away from the process. I believe that we need to have evaluation criteria so we know how we are evaluating each candidate based on council's input. I know that's not in this process, but I believe that the committee should come back and tell us, here are the evaluation criteria.
They will.
Before the,
They're gonna,
after the interview is done, you guys will come back.
yes.
Let me put it on record. So after the interview, we will come back and share with council our evaluation criteria.
Okay,
Yes.
Okay.
With council and the public. Thank you, Councilman
yes,
Johnson.
that would help with transparency. And I just want to highlight another point. I know that there in PAVE Act, it specifically highlights that lobbyists and elected officials cannot serve on this authority board. Does it have anything about potential conflict of interest with development or any of that?
It does not, and it says specifically with regards to elected official, says a member cannot concurrently serve as elected official and be on the authority.
Okay, so what happens if there is significant development interest, would that in candidate, or they are trying to get business from that authority, would that prevent them, or would they be required to do disclosure? Would there be any requirement for economic of interest form, like we complete?
You've got to remember that we're standing up an authority. Authority is yet to be formed. The authority will adopt appropriate policies and procedures, which may include appropriate conflict of interest provisions at the time they're stood up.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Graham?
I yield. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Brown? Ms. Brown, did you have a?
Oh, I just said after Mr. Graham. Oh, now? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
It's on
no
you
problem. Yeah, cool. Great, thank you. I didn't know it was coming around to me that fast. So I have a couple questions here. I've already spoke my piece, but as far as how I favor it, but I want to know, and this is coming from some constituents that are watching online, and just because I, use my position as its intended purpose for the people, have there historically been a board that sets its own salary or has its own taxing authority? And then why does, where or why does in the history of this process the mayor getting 2 votes factor in? That's just coming from folks that are watching and wanted me to ask the question, so of course I'm going to ask it. Is Mayor, Mr. Attorney, did you want to?
Yeah. The pay, what powers we have to set up this board are powers derived from the General Assembly. The
Okay.
General Assembly.
Coming from Raleigh.
Coming
okay.
from Raleigh, they established the criteria under which this authority can be stood up. They provided in the PAVE Act the ability for the authority to set compensation. There's no compensation to date, and we don't know if they'll exercise that authority. The issue, moving to your next issue with regards to the mayoral vote, the mayor's ability to select 2 candidates, that was discussed by this board with regards to the tradition and precedent that this board has established in the years
Which
past.
board?
The council,
Okay.
the city council. And while it was not in writing, the practice and the tradition had been to cede 1/3 of appointments to boards and commissions to the mayor. I think this was a compromise between
Yeah, this is important.
this was a compromise from 1/3 to allow the mayor to have 2 members, and the committee chair can speak to that better than me, to carry forth that tradition.
Okay, committee chair, I'm listening.
Right.
Right.
So
he-
Madam.
Okay, go ahead.
Councilmember Brown, to assist with that, because historically, one, paying respect to the office of the mayor.
Okay.
So the mayor has always had the ability to do additional appointments outside of our appointments for committees. So initially, what was submitted was that the mayor would have 3 votes. We reached out in order to at least have 7 for council, had a conversation with the mayor, still respecting the office of the mayor. If you having more than 1 vote that we have, the mayor did concede to say, okay, we will give that 1 versus us having 6 and her having 3, because the other challenge was the fact that those 3 seats were taken from us right off the top, with us being told 2 have to be from Greater Charlotte Alliance, 1 has to be for Foundation for Carolinas, because initially we thought we had 12
Right.
seats, but in actuality, it's
Came
really
down to
only
7.
9.
Well,
And
9
then
minus 2.
to respect the office of the mayor, and also thinking about what Councilmember Wallington shared tonight as far as putting the language in place, just thinking in perpetuity, the office of the mayor having the ability to have a minimum of 2 votes, with council having 1. So that's how we got to that number, because initially what was presented back to us had the mayor having 3 votes, but she was gracious enough. So what we originally
Yeah. So,
received in the PAVE Act, where it broke down here's the appointments. Also recognizing that historically, for any of our nominations, the office of the mayor, whoever the mayor is, the office of the mayor has always had access for additional votes.
You mentioned
So-
that you received something.
Yeah. So Stephanie Kelly said part of the advisory handbook, it states there that the mayor has 3 appointments to all our boards and commissions.
So from that perspective, we were utilizing the current language of appointments and was able to have the discussion, and the mayor graciously was like, yeah. go
Okay,
ahead,
so
take
this board would be no exception to all the other boards and commissions that we have? Is that what I'm saying? Stand on
The only
record.
exception is the fact that we're doing this interview process because this board is so important once it's set up. So for, normally we just read through the applications, maybe reach out, solicit each other to say, hey, can I get your support on this particular person? When we do our regular nominations, the difference here is the way that the 3 of us worked on this was to say, okay, every council member gets to submit 3 names for each category to give us a robust number. Every council member has the ability to be a part of the interview process if they choose to. But by us doing it on SurveyMonkey, that takes us out of the process, and we don't even see it until we receive the information back, because this clerk's office as well as human resources work together from where we've used SurveyMonkey before to do like the manager's review and other things, to make sure that it is a fully transparent process as far as you are choosing your top 3 for each of these categories and submitting it, and then the system's gonna calculate for us to know where did the majority align. But this is still the time as council that we reach out and have conversation with each other.
Right, so that's all I'm doing, is
Yes,
asking the
ma'am.
questions. And so going back to you, Attorney Fox, please, if you don't mind. You said that we would establish the guidelines, which will probably be done when I'm gone and the seat is filled by the new council member. But I wanted to ask, you said that there was not any specification on a salary right now, and it may not be a salary?
Yes, the PAVAC just merely provides that the authority, once it stood up, could address compensation, but it does not mandate compensation, nor does it set any compensation for any member of the authority.
So the body, the council, the sitting council, when that comes in front of them, will make that decision?
Yes, they will have the opportunity if that's presented to them.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for answering my questions.
Okay, we have one more comment, and then we'll move forward. I have Ms. Watlington with a final comment.
Thank you. I just wanted to circle back in light of the conversation that Councilmember Mayfield just shared. I'm looking at the board member handbook. Am I to understand that this is the policy that captures appointments? Because if so, rather than the resolution that you mentioned earlier, if this is speaking to the composition of each board, this would be where I would expect it to be reflected.
I don't know. Are you looking at the appointment process language?
I'm looking at, I just got in here, I'm looking at the handbook for advisory board, commission, and committee members, a comprehensive guide to the City of Charlotte's boards, commissions, and committees. And so I think what I just heard,
Charlotte NC.gov?
yes.
Okay, she's on the City of Charlotte's website. And then typed in.
Yeah, so, and I just Googled it. I just said the City of Charlotte Boards and Commissions Handbook, I think.
And what that provision provides for is, with few exceptions, appointment powers are divided on a 1/3 and 2/3 ratio between the mayor and the council member. So that policy will give the mayor more votes than what is before the
Correct.
board tonight.
Exactly, which is why I think that the exception needs to be noted in here for this particular board. That way, we don't put a policy in place that's inconsistent with the existing policy.
Again, the resolution and the appointment process will mirror and reflect the appropriateness of the action taken by this body.
Right, and I'm fine with that. In addition to that, this book, if this is where the policy that we have today, the overarching policy sits, it needs to be called out here.
We can call that out. That's an externally facing document, though, not a policy of this board.
Oh, well, then what I just heard is that we use this as a guideline, but if
It
this
is
is not our policy, then it seems like it wasn't intended for us to use. It's externally facing. Either way, let's just make sure that these match.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chair, did you have any?
Yes, oh, okay. I thought Mr. Peacock had raised his hand.
Yes, he did. Mr. Peacock.
I just wanted to compliment the chair. Thank you for doing a great job. I like how we have used what I'll call a sorting, not a screening tool. And I think it's very fair because we're going to be able to see everything throughout the entire process. So, Mr. Chair, I'm making a recommendation that, I'm making a motion that we move forward with the council's work group process recommendation today. That's my motion. Love to have a second.
We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. I know we've had a lot of discussion, so I think that we can probably make a determination. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, Miss. And so we have those, anyone in opposition?
Ms. Wilding.
Ms. Johnson?
And Ms. Brown.
And Ms. Brown. Okay, so that means that we'll move forward. So right now, we are getting ready for our business meeting.
Thank you, colleagues.
I know. I just want to say this is really good, but now let's go ahead. We need to, I'm sorry.
Want a closed session?
Oh, my gosh. We have 4 closed sessions tonight.
We have 4 closed?
4.
Can we begin now?
There's a recommendation. We have a council meeting as well, so the question is, what? Well, that's what we're going to talk about right now. So I think that it would be.
What station are you guys with?
I cannot
We're
hear.
looking for y'all coverage.
You want me to take it, Mayor? I think.
So,
Go ahead.
Anthony?
Yeah.
Do you want to go ahead and, all
I'll
right.
just say,
The city attorney has suggested that we have the first closed session in this space, and he's going to give us a resolution or notice for
I
it.
think there's the plan is to have a closed session on economic development here, and then when we go to the chamber, we will have a closed session at the end of that meeting as well. The closed session here is, and the motion should be to go into closed session pursuant to 143-318-11A4 to discuss matters relating to the location or expansion of industries or other businesses in the area served by the public body, including agreement on a tentative list of economic development incentives that may be offered by the public body in negotiations.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second.
Is there a second?
And is there a second? Second. Somebody, please. Okay, we have a second. All in favor, please raise your hands.
Can we have a discussion about that? Do we,
Can
open
can
for
we,
discussion,
can we do
right?
one thing and finish the motion first?
no, you have discussion before you take a vote.
Call for discussion.
You do.
Okay, we want to have a discussion first?
Yes, thank you. So we're going to have a closed session and then go down to our council
Yes,
meeting that was
because we
supposed to
still
start
have
at 6:30?
business. We still have business things to do.
We have,
7:30.
are there guests in the chamber?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's at
So shouldn't-
6:30.
So shouldn't we go to our meeting and then have our closed sessions afterwards?
I think that this would be, it depends on what you want to do. You want to be here longer after the night, or we have 2 that we believe that are economic development that may not take as much time. So your choice.
I'd rather go down with the public. We're an hour late.
All right, the rest of the members?
No, let's get to economic now and then legal after.
Okay, so
Yeah,
that,
second. and-
all right, we have a motion and a second. We'll do the 2 AD up here. I know, that's what I'm saying. We have a motion and a second for the 2 that would be economic development to be done now. All right, so, all in favor? All right, I think that passes, so. Anyone opposed? Feel free to say that as well. Okay, thank you so much. Who's going to introduce this? And thank you for joining us here in person and those watching online for our October 13th council business meeting. Let's start with introductions around the dais, and we'll start with our city clerk.
Good evening, Stephanie Kelly, City Clerk.
Hello, wonderful folks. Thank you for joining us. I'm Councilmember Brown, District 3.
Good evening, I'm Marjorie Molina, I represent District 5.
Good evening, I'm Renee Johnson, and I'm honored to represent District 4.
Marcus Jones, City Manager.
Vi Lyles, Mayor.
Dante Anderson, Mayor Pro Tem, District 1.
Ed Driggs, District 6.
Edwin Peacock, District 6.
Good evening, Luana Mayfield, Councilmember at Large.
Good evening, Victoria Watlington, Councilmember at Large.
Welcome, Dimple Ajmera at large.
Did I miss? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Good evening, Councilmember James Mitchell at Large. Oh, did I mention that the Panthers are undefeated at home?
Come on. I know what's coming.
I didn't mention that.
No, you didn't. No, not enough anyway, so.
Great game on Sunday.
All right.
They need to win away.
Malcolm Graham, District 2.
All right, thank you, everyone, for joining us tonight. We begin our meeting with an invocation, which is an expression or inspiration followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation is intended to solemnize our work and our proceedings. We celebrate the religious diversity of our community, including those without a religious faith. Tonight, Councilmember Brown will give our invocation. Ms. Brown.
Yes, ma'am. Give me a second. Can you believe I wrote something down? I did. Okay, thank you so much. So I am very spiritual. So if you like, you can bow your heads. If not, you don't have to. But God, we come before you tonight with humble hearts and grateful spirits. We thank you for the opportunity to serve, for the chance to lead, to listen, and to lift the people up of this great city. As we sit here, as I sit here for the last time, I'm reminded of the leadership, and I say the last time for invocation, and the power, the position of power that you put me in. Politics and purpose. It's about the people we are called to serve. Lord, help us never forget. Help us never to forget, while we sit in these seats, that they belong to the people and our constituents. Strip away hidden agendas, the personal gain, and the temptation to sell out what is right for what is easy. Remind us that every decision in this chamber affects the lives of real people, workers, families, children, neighborhoods across Charlotte. God, this city, the 14th largest city in the United States, home of one of the 6 busiest airports in the world, and our top economic driver, is thriving on paper. Yet too many people who help make it thrive can't afford to live here. Our airport workers, our service workers, our unhoused brothers and sisters, they deserve more than an applause. They deserve action. Help us, Lord, to make people our #1 agenda, not just when it's convenient, not just when it's popular, but especially when it's hard. Because putting politics over people is unacceptable, and it always will be. Tonight, I ask for your covering over this council, our mayor, the old and especially the new. Guide their words, purify their motives, and fill their hearts with compassion. May they remember that leadership is a calling, one that demands courage, humility, and integrity. And may the season of service on this council, and as my season of service on this council comes to a close, I thank you, God, for trusting me with this assignment, for allowing me to serve your people, to speak unapologetically in my truth, using the voice that you gave me, standing on purpose. May I continue, but justice, love, and humanity for all, because you know when we fight for the people, that's when we honor you, and that's when we win. In Jesus' name, I pray and I thank you for everything. Amen.
Amen.
All right, amen. All right, we now will go to our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And We also want to have a proclamation because we know that this is the month for Hispanic Heritage Month. And I do believe that we have some people that we're going to provide this proclamation to. And so, Mayor Pro Tem?
Absolutely. Whereas for decades, each year, Americans observe National Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th by celebrating the histories, culture, and contributions of American citizens, residents, and immigrants of Hispanic origin from Mexico, Central America, South America, the Caribbean, and Spain. And whereas in September 1968, 55 years ago, Congress and President Lyndon B. Johnson proclaimed National Hispanic Heritage Month, and whereas in 1988, 35 years later, Congress and President Ronald Reagan expanded the celebration of the Hispanic presence in the United States of America to a month-long commemoration. And whereas every year, the United States Congress and the White House call for public officials, educators, librarians, and all Americans to observe National Hispanic Heritage Month with appropriate ceremonies, activities, and programs. And whereas according to the Office of the U.S. Census, Mecklenburg County is home to 170,000 Latinos. And whereas the city of Charlotte recognizes the extraordinary contributions made to this community by immigrants, residents, and citizens of the Latino origin, now today, she, by Alexander Lyles, the mayor of Charlotte, does hereby proclaim the month of September 15th to October 15th, 2025 as Hispanic Heritage Month in Charlotte and commends its observance to all citizens, and it's signed by her hand. And I am so pleased to present this to some of our fantastic community leaders who have been doing work forever.
Great chat with.
Okay, not all the pretty pictures over there now. All right, thank you so much. You know how much we appreciate you. Thank you for being here. So, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for that reading of our first item. So, but before we move on, I'd like to ask the clerk to provide us the information that we need for our closed sessions. One of them.
No,
Don't
not
we
closed
have
session.
business?
You're going to read it into the,
Yeah, she
We have
just
to
want
read
to
it into the record?
Okay.
Yes.
of a
Madam
prior
Clerk?
closed session.
Pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11A6, the Charlotte City Council convened in closed session on Monday, October the 6th, 2025, to consider matters related to the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, and conditions of initial employment of a public officer or employee, or a prospective public officer or employee. Following deliberation, the City Council approved an employment contract with Andrea Leslie Fight to serve as city attorney effective November 3rd, 2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, for putting that in our record for us as we continue to have the work done. And I think Mr. Fox is actually the one that's actually having the best time. I know, he's like ready, this is like, okay.
To break out of the cartwheel.
I know. So next I want to ask if the city manager has anything to report or any updates for the council.
no report.
Smart man. All right, we'll now move to the business agenda items. We have several business agenda items, and then after finishing those business items, we have a closed session items. So item number 8, donation of artwork to the Harvey B. Gantt Center and Mecklenburg County.
Move for approval.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please raise your hands. Anyone in opposition? All right, Mr. Graham, do you want to say? You're like,
All right, JC.
It just stayed up. I mean, just never came
We're
down.
going to keep going, okay. For item number 9, initial findings, resolutions for special obligation bonds, is there a motion to adopt an
So
initial
moved.
finding?
Second.
A, B,
And a
and C.
second
A, B, and
for,
C.
do I have to read the whole thing?
No, A, B, and
Motion
C.
to approve A, B, and C.
Okay, we have a motion for A, B, and C. Is there any discussion? Ms. Mayfield and Mr. Graham.
Thank you.
Ms. Ashmira.
Interim attorney, have all the contracts been signed that we need to have signed? Because I'm just verifying, since this is the resolution for the obligation bonds, I thought what we said is that we will be paying the vendors directly as work is completed, so I want to be sure exactly what are we being asked to approve tonight, since we're providing the issuance of a commercial paper program as part of the special obligation bonds financing plan in an amount not to exceed the 650. Are we saying that we're pulling that trigger, but the city's holding this money? And then we're paying the vendors as their payments are due? We're releasing this money to who?
I see Matt's there, but I think this is to get us in the appropriate posture to go before the LGC, which has to approve the debt. And so this is the vehicle that gets us to that.
So this is not actually releasing money, this is setting us up to be in a position for the next step. So I wanted clarity, because I think I may have seen something online in response to tonight's item, so I wanted to be clear exactly what we're doing tonight.
Yeah, and I don't want to advance above my pay grade, so Matt.
CFO.
Matt Hassett, CFO and Finance Director. Appreciate the question, Councilmember. So this is to allow us to go the sort of a two-step process to basically start the process with the local government commission. No payment has been made to Tepper Sports and Entertainment or any vendors because the contracts have not been finalized by City Council yet or the NFL. So this is a part of the process to allow us to get all the contracts fully executed. But until all the agreements are in place, no payments will be actually made to anyone.
Thank you for that clarification. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, Mr. Graham.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to take this opportunity really to acknowledge that over the past year, Matt and his team, as well as the City Attorney's Office, has really been working with Tepper Sports and Entertainment to really dot I's and cross T's versus the initial vote that we took almost a year ago. And so I would be remiss from the Economic Development Committee if we don't thank Matt and his team, and as well as the City Attorney's Office, for really doing a lot of work over the last year to get us in a position where we are ready to go to the Local Government Commission to seek approval to kind of unlock the funds moving forward. This is one of two items that's coming before us tonight in reference to Bank of America Stadium. I'll talk to the other one when it comes up, but I just want to acknowledge also the President Coleman and her team for being here tonight. They were also with me at the Economic Development Committee at first of the month, talking about this issue as well as others, and extended me the opportunity to visit with them to talk more about the relationship between Tepper Sports and Entertainment and the City of Charlotte relating to the $650 million proposal. So I want to thank everyone for their support, staffers for getting us to this point. Mr. Manager, I think really a lot of good work is done in a short period of time, short being a year. Matt and his team, but I think we're really at a point now where this thing is really becoming real from a construction perspective, and lining up, dotting I's and crossing T's, and ready for the next step, which is releasing the funds. So I want to thank the team for all the work that they've done to get us to this point.
Okay. Ms. Ashmira.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So I did not support the original $650 million ask because of concerns around transparency and accountability. However, the majority of the council approved the framework. So today's action, I see it as a formality, a contractual obligation to move the financing plan forward. So while I stand by my original concerns, I will be supporting this because it is a contractual obligation that the city has. And I'll continue to push for transparency and full visibility into how these funds are used. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Driggs?
Just briefly, this is a procedural step in our ongoing relationship with the team. Appreciate you guys, and we have another vote tonight, but very happy to support this.
Well, I see that we have a few people that actually, I hope that, I really enjoyed yesterday. I just want you to know it was a real treat. So we're grateful for that, and I hope that we can do it again. Let's do it. Hey, you know, we're ready. I think James Mitchell is more ready than the rest of us, though, so.
He's looking for a contract to
I
play.
know. Exactly. We got to get
Don't call me out. Don't call me out.
Basketball is his game, not this one. Not this one. Thank you guys for being here for tonight. It makes a difference when we see you and what you are doing for us, so thank you very much. All right, so we have to vote first on this. All in favor, please raise your hands. Is there anyone opposed? Here, Ms. Johnson and Ms. Brown would be opposed. Okay, so this is for both A, B, and C, okay? All right, let's go to item 10. Is there a motion to adopt a resolution to approve a ground lease of city-owned property at 705 West 4th Street with PS Marks LLC for a 60-month term for construction, laydown, parking, and related purposes, authorizing the city manager to negotiate and execute and amend all documents necessary to complete the transaction.
Move
Adopt the
for
budget
action A,
ordinance.
B, and C.
Okay, and all of those together, A, B, and C.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Graham.
Again, this yet another step forward in our relationship with Tepper Sports and Entertainment, providing a lease for construction setup. So again, the process of working with them and renovating the stadium starts with a place for them to lay down their construction equipment and get ready. And this is in District 2, and so we're ready to build something.
Okay. So any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. Anyone opposed? Ms. Johnson and Ms. Brown. The next item is item 11, to approve new provisions to the Bank of America Stadium amended and restated ground lease that contemplate future scenarios supporting the ongoing use of a performance venue.
Move to approve A and B.
We have a motion and a second for A and B. Any questions, any comments? All in favor, raise your hand. Oh, we have comments. Oh, I thought you were raising your hand for yes.
No, you hadn't asked yet.
All right, I'm sorry, let's go
Mr.
around.
Graham is first.
With Mr. Graham was first, and then we'll come down to Ms. Ashmira.
You don't want to
Come
close it
around.
out?
I can
You're
close
going
it
to
out.
give positive stuff. Think about your colleagues.
No, I think, here we are, right? So this is probably the most exciting news of the night. Travel and entertainment continues to be a part of the fabric of the city of Charlotte, and certainly in uptown Charlotte. And here's a part of the agreement that we signed with the Panthers that was outlined as a skeleton when we first approved it a year ago. Now it has a lot more meats on the bone in terms of a performance center in conjunction to the stadium. It does fall in District 2 again. That brings a 44-seat facility for performing.
4,400.
4,400, yeah.
Right.
Seat for performance, uptown Charlotte. And again, that brings heads and beds and gives people who work in the travel and tourism industry 80 to 100 more opportunities to earn a living every day of the week when that facility is operating. Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, bars, restaurant, you name it, will have an opportunity to be a part of this new venue in uptown Charlotte. It energized the lower end of Graham Street that needs some excitement and enthusiasm to go along with it. No city funds will be a go to it. The parking is there and it's accessible to the parking spaces is already there. And so this is really a good news story along with all the other votes that we took tonight that kind of moves our relationship forward with Tepper Sports and Entertainment and the Carolina Panthers. And again, this really is icing on the cake and really provides a shining arm for the redevelopment of the lower end of Graham Street and getting more heads and beds and more employment opportunities for those who work in that industry. So I'm really excited about it. And 4,400 sounds like a good size for to see Kirk Whalum or Bob James or some jazz performance.
Don't leave
there.
out Ed Driggs.
Oh, well, you know, we're going to need a 10,000 seat facility for Ed. That might be too small, but it's just the right size for great jazz and other entertainment in uptown Charlotte and Graham Street. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you.
Ms. Sajmira?
Mayfield was.
So, thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with my colleague, Councilmember Graham. This is certainly exciting. As a mom, I want my daughters to grow up in a city that is full of opportunities, that values culture and music. So this performance venue helps fill that gap and really creates space to celebrate culture and music without public dollars. So please bring more of this. And I want to thank Tepper Sports and Entertainment for investing in this venue. I'm very excited.
All right, Ms. Mayfield.
Thank you.
Ms.
The
Watlington,
staff
did you
come
want to,
forward,
I'm
'cause
coming
I-
around Ms. Mayfield, yes.
The staff can come forward because I actually have a question.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Sean. Just for clarification, I want to ensure or make sure that I understand. Will this facility be subject to our current noise ordinance? Meaning when construction is going on, and have we identified, because we have so much residential in Uptown, we've received concerns, not for this project, but for other projects, with the time of morning that the trucks start, when you're hearing the beeping of the trucks backing in, the impact of workers coming in. What parameters do we have around this, since we do have a large number of residential in that area?
Yes, this facility would be subject to all local ordinances. I would underscore this is an indoor performance venue, so there's not an
Yeah, but I'm
outdoor
talking about the
amphitheater
trucks
associated with it.
for construction. So that's one of the challenges that we have across the city, is that when the construction is happening, luckily, we have a lot, so they're not going to hopefully impact community. Yet, when you hear that beeping at 3, 4, sometimes 5 o'clock in the morning, when our noise ordinance says that construction, I think, is supposed to start around 7, just want to verify.
Yes, there are no accommodations in terms of the construction of the facility or the operation of the facility related to noise or other ordinances. That's correct.
That's what I wanted to verify. Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. Mr. Driggs?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So this is actually a pretty minor action tonight. We're just making a very small adjustment to a lease. Good opportunity, though, every opportunity to remind ourselves about the magnitude of our relationship with Tepper Sports. Tepper Sports spent $3 billion buying the team and committing to the improvements in the stadium so that we will have football here in Charlotte for 20 more years. And I believe $375 million or so to bring us a Major League Soccer franchise. Big investments also in the community by Mr. Tepper. So I hope you'll send Dave our regards. And thank you to you. And I wanted to mention also, it appears that the team wins before council action. We schedule some sort of an event here. Okay, thank you very much.
That was good. Ms. Johnson?
Good job.
Oh, thank you. I just want to reiterate that there are no public dollars being used for this, and this is a privately funded project, so I will be supporting it. I do support the growth and cultural growth in the city, and I think this is a good project. I do want to ask, Mr. Heath, you sat down. I think Councilmember Mayfield's question was excellent. It's a little off topic, but we do hear that a lot. There's a lot of construction in the city, and maybe we can do this in the future, Mayor. We really need to take a look at some good neighbor policies with constructions as far as the hours, and when there's construction outside of those hours, what the recourse is for residents. There's the Autumnwood project, you all are familiar with it. There's like 150 acres, and I think I've sent you the email where there's a lot of ongoing concern. So I'd like to talk about that maybe in our Great Neighborhoods Committee or talk to you. Residents need to have a voice, and there's so much construction in this city that there has to be some recourse. And what are we doing, and are we tracking the bad actors? So that's all
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Ms. Molina?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's hard to come behind that because I wasn't going to say nothing close to that. So not to rebuttal anything that Councilwoman Johnson said, but first I want to thank the Tepper team for hanging out with us tonight. I know that we went over a lot, but thank you guys for being a great partner. It means a lot, especially in some of these tougher decisions that we've had to make, to have you come to the table and be willing to be in it with us for the long haul. It means a lot. It also helps that we kicked butt last night, and it was just so great. It was my birthday, of course, so I got to go ahead and say that. It was the best birthday gift ever to watch us hand the Cowboys, their bottoms at the bank and protect the bank. So I think we're all, excited about the team, what we've built. And also, listen, this has been one of those conversations because we've approved 3 things related to the Tepper team tonight. Very different things, very different items for very different purposes. But this is actually what I opine, a move of just good partnership. Right? The city is not being asked for anything. Literally, this is ground lease space that would not be used but for this decision tonight. So not only are we going to activate this space, but we're going to give 4,400 seats, right? Butts and beds. We're going to invigorate the hospitality industry. We're going to invigorate tourism for our city, and so much more. So I am absolutely proud to support this move for partnership, and go Panthers.
All right.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I definitely echo the sentiments of having a team winning. It's just a great spirit around the city after the games. And of course, the soccer team doing well as well. But, this is such a great move for us and for the city, because we don't have a facility that's 4,400 seats. I sit on the board of Blumenthal Arts, and we've done inventory of all the various venues, and this is fitting right within the sweet spot that will allow us to attract certain artists who don't really have a home in Charlotte. And the activation of this facility means there's more money circulating in our community, uptown, and bringing that vitality to Third Ward, which is so deeply needed. And I always remember, when I talked to Mr. Tepper he talks about how some of the bars and some of the restaurants uptown personally thanked him because those small businesses feel the impact when games happen. Well, now they're going to feel the impact when there are concerts and shows and other things of that nature. So I think this is a win-win for us. I look forward to attending a concert and maybe being able to lobby to attract some artists that I'd like to see, like Mr. Graham as well. So I just want to say thank you for the partnership and thank you for seeing the need for a facility like this in our community. It will certainly add to what we've been talking about over the last several months around the fact that public safety is tied to vitality. When you have spaces that are activated and people are around and the lights are bright and people are spending money and enjoying themselves, that helps to stave off crime as well. So it's a good move for us. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Jones?
Thank you, Mayor, members of council. Christy, while we don't have, the Panthers or, some of the strength of the volume of the team, I just want to brag on Team Charlotte for a moment. This was something that we had a lot of players in different seats who came in to land the plane. So I really thank Interim City Attorney Fox, and Anna for being a part. Clearly, what Matt has done, stepping in, and Sean, I really appreciate that you took something that wasn't even in your portfolio and you helped us get to a place where we can be here tonight. So just wanted to thank Team Charlotte.
Okay, I think we have one more person that would like to speak in some respect.
She gave it back.
She gave it to me.
Okay, there we go.
I'm sorry. Okay. On the left side, y'all know what y'all gonna say, right?
Yes. No. On the count of three. On the count of three. 1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday.
Pounding.
Wow.
All right, let's do this again.
Better than that.
Happy birthday. 1, 2, 3.
Keep pounding.
Yes.
All right, there we go.
We work hard at this thing, Thank you very much.
Good thing we're not a football team.
Thank you,
I
Mayor
know
Pro
it,
Tem.
so thank you. All right.
Yes, we got to vote on it.
We do have to vote. Let's vote on this one, item 11. Do all in favor, please raise your hand. Anyone, no one opposing? That passes, so now.
Unanimous. All right.
Okay, thank you, guys. So now we are, I think that's our last business item, and that we need to go into our closed session. So I'm going to ask our attorney to help us, start us with the 3 closed sessions that are planned.
Madam Mayor,
We're not
members of
playing.
council, the motion should be to go into closed session pursuant to North Carolina General Statute 143-318-11A and 6 to consult with the city attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion. All in favor, raise your hand. Anyone opposed? All right, let's go back, and I know it's been a long day, but if we can just get there, we can probably get out as well. So we're in the room right behind us.
8:30 is not bad.
No, it's not.